Hello and welcome, my dear friends. It is wonderful to be with you again, and I have an amazing agenda for today where we are going to explore the hero's journey. I hope that you're excited when you saw the announcement. I was definitely excited when the idea came to me about what I offer, what would be the most useful resource right now. And the hero's journey is always one of those very, very favorite models that I like to use in my teachings as well as in my personal life. And that's ultimately what we're going to do today is check out the hero's journey, the principles of the hero's journey, the overall sequence of the journey, how it develops naturally, and then how that fits into your life. And I also decided, well, how far do I want to go with this? And I decided I'm going to push the envelope and really look at how does this journey also apply to our neighborhoods, our towns, our communities, our countries that we live in, as well as the world at large. You guys, there's a lot going on in the world, and we all have our very personal opinions about what's happening and how we feel about it. We all also have our very personal journey while all of that is going on. And my big question is always, how does our personal journey fit into the bigger picture? What is that role that we are called to play in the world events, in the history that is ultimately unfolding right there with us in the midst of it? I went to a seminar with Michael Beckwith, who was one of the presenters in the movie The Secret in the early 2000s. And he made that very interesting statement, ultimately paraphrasing, if you're wondering why you're here right now, that's because your soul asked to be here. You wanted to be part of this. You want to be part of this part of human evolution, what history we're making here right now. And I have to admit that gave me a lot of solace, that gave me a lot of peace when I was looking at circumstances in the bigger world and thinking to myself, oh my goodness, where is this going? Having fear of the future, having anxiety about what's going to happen to myself, my children, my grandchildren, and future generations. What kind of world are they going to inherit from us? What is the kind of place that we're going to leave behind? How is the world going to look in 50, 100 years? And so on and so on. And then giving myself that general mindset of I chose to be here and I wanted to be here and I'm participating in it in some way. And if that's the only thing that is useful to you today, then I'm so grateful that you tuned in and got that message, because I think that's where it all starts, that we're simply okay with, that we're grateful, that we understand the bigger picture of why we're here and what compelled us to be born in this time, in this era of humanity. It's definitely a trip, you guys. Just listening to the normal news, it is quite amazing what's going on in the world on all levels. And I'm not even going to get into details because that's already, you already know it, right? What's going on. So we're not going to spend much time in the details of what is. What we are going to spend a lot of time on are the details to how can I participate in all of that in the most empowered way, in the most joyful way, in the most grateful way. How can I make a difference? How can I transform myself in a way that it also helps my community transform? Because we know how it works with entrainment. As soon as one person comes into a room and they are smiling and they are heartfelt and they are uplifting people, they will literally uplift the whole room. And when someone comes in a bad mood, they can also drag down people, right? And you've done it. You've done both of them. Sometimes you've been in a bad mood and all of a sudden everybody else around you was in a bad mood. Or you came into a system and you were in an incredible mood and all of a sudden everybody was uplifted. That is entrainment in action, because we are all entangled. We're all connected emotionally. Our heart space goes out miles. It's measurable. And when you are aware of that power that you have as an individual, you can craft your story more empowered and more meaningful. And then you can show up in any circumstance for yourself and for others in an empowered way that somehow adds positive energy to the system. Would that be cool? So let's do that, okay? Right on. And what we're doing today specifically is taking the hero's journey as our guiding principle, as our model, to look at all of that through those eyes. So, first of all, you already know the hero's journey. A, because you're on it yourself, and B, because you are constantly exposed to it through novels, songs, movies, any kind of written literature, any kind of storytelling that's going on. Even when someone makes a video, even when someone creates the lyrics for a song, there is an element of the hero's journey that naturally shows up. Because the hero's journey is ultimately the human quest of why we're alive. You being born in this world is already your call to your heroic quest. And then your whole life is ultimately going around that circle of the journey and then ending up where you started when you're leaving the world again, just as you came in. And you have the power to inform that journey. You're not stuck with a specific story if there are certain patterns that are pervasive in your past and you're worried about, am I going to keep this for the rest of my life? Is this going to get worse? And then when you look at it from the hero's journey perspective, you can see that there is a lot of choice that you have in how you want to interact with that journey. So when we look at the symbology that truly pervades every single story that has ever been told across time, across cultures, there are certain principles, there are certain pieces of that journey that are very similar and that you can pinpoint. They are symbols that we can all relate to. They are part of that super conscious. And part of that, for example, is that a hero makes their quest and they're doing the journey of personal transformation in service of the greater good. That ultimately is the biggest difference between a hero and an adventurer, or someone who takes a vacation, or someone who's just an explorer. Because there is an inherent quality of wanting to share what you learned with others, wanting to somehow enhance your culture, your family, your neighborhood. There is that yearning in your heart to take that exploration that you're doing for yourself and then to share it with others. When you look at the big stories that are being told around the world, and of course, my mind always goes to Star Wars, it goes to Indiana Jones, it goes to The Hunger Games, it goes to Lord of the Rings, and many, many other stories. Of course, Harry Potter comes to mind, anything to do with the MCU, the Marvel comic universe, the superhero movies, any Disney movie you can imagine. I just love sitting there and watching a Disney movie from beginning to end and just pinpointing the different stages of the journey as they are presenting themselves. And so use this information that you're getting here right now. And I know for a lot of you, it's revisiting the information. And I hope I put a different taste in it. I put a little bit of a different insight in it for you that might then also enhance your journey. So that's part of my intent, to give you something very valuable and useful that you then can apply into your own quest, okay? And when you look at those commonalities of those different journeys and how they present themselves, how they are evolving, there's always that moment that a person is in their usual environment, in their normal way of being, and this is just the way it is, and that's how my life is. And then there comes a call. There's a calling from the universe. It might come in very positive ways because you're falling in love and you're starting to plan a life together with another person. Or it's because you get a fantastic career opportunity. Someone calls you and presents you with some information that you've been waiting for, and all of a sudden it sparks the idea of creating something. Perhaps it is also a call that is not so pleasant, that you had an accident, or that there is a breakup, that you lose your job. Some kind of stress comes into your life, and those are also callings from the universe saying, okay, time for change, time to get up and start a completely new journey. Are you ready? And sometimes the willingness of the hero is not so great. Sometimes the hero flat out refuses the call. They're like, no, I don't have time. I have things to do. I have to take care of people. I have to have certain obligations that I have to fulfill. Or it's too hard. I don't have the money. I don't have the education. Or we have all those reasons of why we don't want to embrace our journey. And yet, the universe keeps persisting. It's going to keep knocking louder and louder until the hero finally says, okay, okay, I'm going to go through the door. I'm going to go through that portal and I'm going to leave everything that I know behind and I'm going to go on a quest. Carl Jung defined it going from the known world into the unknown world. We're going from the conscious into the subconscious and even the superconscious. And we are creating that story with our attitude, with our willingness to be on that journey. So if there's anything right now that's calling in your life, the best thing you can do right now is to say, okay, doesn't make sense perhaps right now what's going on. I'm just going to welcome it. I'm just going to welcome the change. I'm going to welcome that opportunity, that challenge, that problem, that issue, that option, whatever words you're using for it. And I'm just going to roll with it. And I'm going to give myself the opportunity to embrace it on the heroic level. Whatever is going on in your life right now is a calling for you for some reason. And I hope you're going to get some more information as we're going through the journey together, okay? So you're being called, and then you step away from your usual circumstances. Even a pregnancy is a calling. A move, a physical move to a new location is a calling. So you're leaving that which you are used to, your old identity behind, to embrace a new identity, a new way of being. Now, it's not going to just jump right at you and fall into your lap. It is going to be a discovery journey. Therefore, the hero, once they step through the portal, go on the Wandership. In German, we say that the Wanderschaft. You are the wanderer, der Wanderer. You're wandering around and you're searching. You're looking for options. You're figuring out what's going on. You're feeling out the new landscape. Now, let me get back to the portal because the portal is a very important piece of the journey. At the portal, you have your guardians. The guardians that might be cheerleaders and say, go for it, what a great idea, open your own business, write that book, take ballet lessons, start painting, whatever it is that you want, and we totally support you, we believe in you, we trust you. Wow, it's going to be great to see what you create. Sometimes our guardians also show up as the naysayers. Really? I wouldn't do that. You're crazy. What a stupid idea. Why would you do that? We've all heard that, right? From some person or another. And then in those moments, you can just go, you're just one of those portal people. You're just here to help me to really make sure that this is what I want. You're testing me. Thank you. Thank you for being here and watching that portal and being concerned about my well being and my safety. I appreciate that. Do you hear the difference? When you can talk to the naysayers like that in your heart, in your mind, and perhaps even wisdom, where you can give them a genuine, you know what, I totally get what you're saying here. And there's a part of me that totally believes what you're saying. And I say it to myself as well. And the yearning is so big. This opportunity is so huge. This challenge is so important that I'm willing to take that step. Thank you for your concern. Imagine being able to deal with the people in your life on that level who are telling you that you can't do it for some reason or another. And that then gets you into your Wandership. And what happens in the Wandership is you are going to attract your following. You are going to attract your fellowship, the people you're surrounding yourself with to take the journey with. In most cases, it shows up as a mentor. Someone who's older than you, more experienced, someone who's been there. That's the important thing about the mentor, the guide, that they have an awareness of the lay of the land. They've been there, they've done the journey, they are ahead of you a few steps, and they can share resources with you that are going to help you on your personal quest. A lot of times in stories, this resource comes in the form of a book, Perhaps it's a talisman, some kind of a trinket, a ring, a bracelet, some kind of clothing. Perhaps it might be a cloak, a cape. It might be some kind of information, the scroll with a secret. It might be a sword or a hammer. There are so many ways that the resource can show up. And what just came to me as I'm saying that, the resources also define the type of journey that you're going to have. Because there are multiple archetypes that inform the hero's journey. And I know you've heard this word, archetypes. The archetypes are ultimately the stereotypes of the human psyche that are in all of us. And then we choose at different times of our life to live in those very specific forms of thinking and attitude. For example, the parent or the student. How about the warrior? The wanderer, for example, is an archetype. The martyr is also an archetype. The king, the queen, the lover, the shaman, the mystic. There are so many fantastic archetypes, and a lot of them are represented in the tarot. That's why the tarot is so intriguing to us, because it gives us a way to talk to the universe through these symbols, through these, I'm going to call them the stereotypes, those tropes that are ultimately informing our psyche. And those are tropes that we are unconsciously acting out. If you are stuck in a warrior mentality, you will always look for the fight. You will always sleep with one eye open, and you're always ready for attack. And a lot of us spend a lot of time in the warrior archetype. Other people have chosen the martyr archetype. No matter what they do, the glass is always half empty, their well is never filled, they're burning out, they're always giving, 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 and not receiving enough back. So when you come from that very specific archetype, again, you will have a completely different experience, and your heroic quest will unfold differently. So for today, I'm going to ask you to start thinking about, what kind of mentor would I like to attract? What kind of fellowship would I like? And what kind of tools do I need for my journey? For example, the Marauders map just came to me from Harry Potter. Wouldn't that be great to have that invisible map that then shows things going on? How about a map of the future, or some kind of talisman that always gives me protection when I travel, those kind of things. So start thinking about what would be some really cool metaphorical tools that you would like. Another tool that I'm immediately thinking of, I want the Book of Wisdom. The book with the secrets of the universe. Yay! That would be fun. Ah, as you are on the journey with your fellowship, and there might be a sidekick, there might be your little mystical friend, the Jiminy Crickets. Every Disney movie has their little sidekick. R2D2 is it in Star Wars. A lot of times they're silent. They speak metaphorically because they're also a sign of the subconscious mind. And you can really get deeply into it. There is a wonderful book that I bought in the 90s called, is it now The Power of Myth or The Magic of Myth? It's called The Magic of Myth. And it has 3CPO on the front of it. And it takes the hero's journey and goes step by step through Star Wars and the heroic quest that each one of the characters plays out. For example, Luke going from the warrior archetype to then the shaman and the mystic by becoming a Jedi. And Han Solo, and that's why he's so incredibly popular, is the lover's journey. He is the guy who becomes, from a mercenary, becomes a person with meaning and contribution. He becomes a person who then serves. And he thinks more than just about his own enrichment, and he really starts to think about the higher consciousness. So he truly turns into an amazing hero in his journey. And that's what you're doing as well. You are going through archetypes, and you are choosing the archetype that you want to embrace. And then what kind of journey that is going to bring to you, because it's going to change the landscapes. And you can also choose that right now metaphorically. Here's where I'm taking some liberties in how the journey is usually shared by Joseph Campbell and other people who are well versed in this topic, to where there is this general idea that the hero has to descend. And that is usually depicted in some kind of a labyrinth, a maze, a cave, something that symbolically gives us this feeling of dismemberment, and we have to let go of everything. We have to go into the dark, and we have to face the ogre and the monster and the dragon and all the hardship and the suffering. No pain, no gain comes from that way of thinking about the journey. And as I was embracing the journey into my life and I was dealing with hardship and suffering, I would ask myself, is this truly the only way that we can learn? Is it truly an absolute imperative part of learning that it has to be hard and painful and that I have to suffer my way through it? Or can it be joyful and easy and fun? And that's when we started talking about in my classes that how would it be instead of going down into the deep dark cave and having to face the ogre, that you're actually climbing a mountain and you get to sit in a temple and you meditate and you fly with the dragons and you're close to the clouds and you have your enlightenment that way in your transformation. And then I have some people, they're like, I'm too lazy to climb a mountain. How about a beautiful meandering path through the forest and meadows? And I'm going by lakes and I see the mountains and the sea. Then I just have this beautiful meandering journey. And you know what? Why not? If that works for you and that brings you more joy and fulfillment than thinking that you have to suffer your way through the journey, then please give it a shot. And you know how I always say, give it 30 days, see what happens. Make a commitment to yourself and say, I want to experience my heroic quest in this nice, meandering, beautiful journey for the next, say, 30 days. And then just see what happens. Or the way I like to do it, I am totally taken on that climb up the mountain, and I love sitting on the mountaintop and having that incredible vista across all that's present. And I get to be very close to the heavenly beings, so to speak. There is a huge transformation, you guys, in how we are embracing the heroes and how we are embracing the challenges. I love the movies when the bad guy, the tyrant, the person who hurts the others gets transformed. And you see that a lot more in movies nowadays. There used to be more of a killing of the bad guy. They had to suffer, they had to get burned or whatever was going on with them. Look at the Grimm's fairy tales, how gruesome a lot of these characters perished. And I think that we are collectively growing out of that way of thinking about the story. And so that might be a great encouragement today if you are dealing with a lot of hardship and if there is a lot of suffering in your life, that you perhaps give yourself the opportunity to embrace a different kind of journey and say, you know what, I've done enough of that. And I want to explore how it feels to climb the mountaintop or to have that meandering journey, knowing that I'm still going to get my outcome of the learning, the transformation. So, you are going to have a transformation of some kind. That's a given. As soon as you step through the portal and you willingly accept the journey, as soon as you're starting to gather your resource and the people who are accompanying you on your journey, you will transform. It is part of the quest. The more open you are to that idea, of course, the easier it's going to be, the better it's going to be, the deeper it's going to be. Are you going to go through your change kicking and screaming? Or are you going through your change? I know this is happening for a reason. I don't understand it all the way yet. And I know it will make sense one day. I simply embrace it for what it is right now. And I walk into it with open eyes and open arms, ready for what comes. Think about embracing a surgery right now. Perhaps some of you are looking at some health issues and there is some surgery on the horizon. Imagine going into that surgery with that attitude and being fully involved with it, being proactive, being resilient, flexible, accountable, really preparing yourself. And I've had so many cases where people cut their healing time in half. They amazed their doctors, they amazed their families with how quickly they healed, how quickly they picked themselves up again and were healthy again. So that might be one of the challenges that you're facing right now. Or there might be a big job change. There might be something in your family that is challenging you right now. Whatever it is, just give yourself the gift and say, I'm going to try it a different way. I'm going to embrace a different way of thinking, a different type of attitude that's going to make it more graceful. And perhaps I'm able to find some joy along the way and some happiness. And then there is always that time when you can look back and go, now I understand why that happened. Now I understand why this person came into my life or left my life, why my job changed the way it did, why the living circumstances, my lifestyle changed the way it did. I understand now. And that is a completely different feeling in your heart. There is so much just contentment and fulfillment when you can look at it like that. And why wait till afterwards? Give it to yourself right now. Be a cheerleader to yourself. Be a mentor to yourself in those moments, right here, right now. Whatever you're facing, so that you don't have to suffer so much. All right? So there comes that point where a big change is going to happen. Luke Skywalker sees his father for the first time without a mask, and he now can accept him, forgive him, and love him. That is the atonement of Luke Skywalker's journey. We all have those moments of healing, of major transformation. In NLP language, we would call it changing a belief, letting go of old memories that don't serve us anymore. We re-imprint them. We give them a different meaning. It is that moment of transformation where something that you used to hold as real, as your truth, and then all of a sudden it doesn't fit anymore. That's not who you are anymore. And you've known that. That's part of that calling, that deep knowingness that this is happening for a reason, and that you're ready to step into that new identity with new beliefs about yourself and the world. That moment of transformation, usually when we talk about atonement, interestingly, in the old way, has been more on the male side. Luke Skywalker gets to make peace with his father. We don't talk much about his mother now, aren't we? And that is very important in what I believe that we are also embracing the female aspects of the healing journey. So imagine that there would be a scene where not only does Luke get to make peace with his father, where he also then embraces the mother principle. Because Luke making peace with his dad is ultimately making peace with himself and accepting his father's qualities in himself. And he also deserves to do that with his mother. So imagine that he's also able to do that with Padme, Queen Amidala, who died at childbirth in that very specific story. And then you can map it over to any other story and really look at how much are we honoring the masculine and the feminine principle in the healing. And to me, it's both. That's the one thing that I learned over those last 20 years of teaching is how insanely important it is to embrace both aspects. And we need to make peace with the male aspect that is more about the proactivity, giving, being out in the world, fulfilling goals, making things happen. And then the feminine, the passive, being laid back, being meditative, being in our emotions. And having both working together, that's where happiness comes from. That's where our wholeness comes from, by bringing those two aspects together. Yeah, just embrace that for a moment. And where do you need that healing in your life right now? Where are you out of whack? Where are you out of balance between your masculine and your feminine aspects? Where are you just way too driven and you just go, 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 and you're always goal oriented and you're task, 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 and you're just going, like one person told me today, oh, I decided I'm going to be, instead of a human doing, I'm going to be a human being. Perhaps you're out of whack because you are way too heavily into the male aspects of your life. and meditation might be a good tool for you. Or you're way too passive. You let people trample around on you, you don't give your opinions, you don't have any goals, you're just kind of drifting through life, and some proactivity might be a good thing for you. Where do you feel out of whack in your life when you look at the totality of what's going on in your life right now? All right, so those are some pretty deep questions. And that's where the healing is supposed to be occurring right now. And that's probably why you tuned in today, to hear that. When the healing occurs, you are atoned. And I love that word because when I look at it written out, it's actually at one ment. How cool is that? At one ment. When we are at one, when we are atoned, we're complete again, we're whole again. And then, like I mentioned before, what makes the hero's journey so special is that then comes the yearning of wanting to share that boon, that thing that you discovered, that healing that you discovered, that elixir that you found. Elixir, I think is how you say it. Elixir. Whatever it is that you discovered, the book that you found, the book with the formula of some amazing medicine or some kind of healing for your society, there's this yearning that you need to bring it back because just hanging out in the subconscious, in the unknown, in this world of discovery is not going to make you part of society. And that's what's so incredibly important, that the hero needs to go back to their society and share what they learned. So now you're going back through the portal, of course, so that you can go back into your known world. And you share with your community what you learned. Then you go back home and go, okay, what's my next adventure? That was a fun chapter. What's my next chapter? And then you start all over again. Imagine that everything that's going on in your life is somehow a mini quest in the bigger quest, the bigger journey of your life. Wow. Having a marriage, a partnership in your life, or be a parent, for example, or the career that you're currently in. And then you can really look at every single aspect of your life and say, where am I at? Where am I at in my journey? Perhaps I'm in the resource gathering phase right now. Perhaps I'm standing right in front of the portal, having said, oh man, I want to do it so much, but I'm so apprehensive. I know I need to do it, but I'm worried. And there you are. Or you might be right now in that wonderful moment of accepting the boon. You've had your atonement, you've had a major healing, something changed for you just now, and you're now gathering that beautiful feeling of how it is to be transformed, to bring this new identity to the world. Perhaps you're in the sharing process right now. And you're doing it in every aspect of your life. I find that absolutely fascinating. I see it like a bunch of mini spirals in a big spiral that's going up, because that's our evolution, that we are on some level revisiting the issues of the past, and it's on a higher level. So imagine your heroic quest of life actually being a spiral, and then how you are revisiting certain items in your life, certain aspects, certain beliefs, certain patterns. And with many of them, you will find, oh, look at that, I have grown, things have changed, I'm smarter than I used to be. And then there are other aspects where, like, oh man, I'm still doing the same old, same old. And those might be some very good aspects to explore and say, okay, what do I need to do to evolve my journey for that very specific aspect of my life? The hero's journey is a deeply personal experience. And when we talk about a myth, it is ultimately the journey that we all share. And right now, when we look at the world and what's going on historically, so to speak, the history of the future, we are all on that journey together. Humanity is on a heroic quest. Wrap your mind around that for a minute. Your community, your country is on a heroic quest. And a country like the USA, that's a few hundred years in existence, so to speak, in its current form, is going through a heroic quest. And they have a very specific archetype. And so does Germany and France and Australia and India. We're all doing it. Just put your frame of mind around that when you look at world events right now and what's been happening this week. What archetypes are we playing out collectively? What is the myth that we're currently creating that future generations are going to be talking about? Wrap your mind around that. I think that is deeply fascinating. And when I can look at everything that's happening right now in the world, with the weather, with our interactions with each other, with any kind of hardship that people are suffering around the planet, still a pandemic. And when we look at all of that through the lens of the heroic quest and how we have all agreed to be on this quest together somehow, wow, it gives me so much solace, so much peace of mind and hope for the future. Because that ultimately is what the hero shows us, that it's a hopeful journey. You're not going to arrive at home once you've taken your journey in the same mindset that you left it. And I have to keep that hope that we as humanity are evolving, that we are getting a little smarter, a little kinder, a little more sustainable, a little more empathic and compassionate with each other, so that the kids that are going through their own heroic quest can use us as their mentors and as their positive examples. And they can take their journey in a world that's worth living in. I would like for you to really think about, how does my personal journey fit into the bigger picture? What is that gift that I can give humanity through my own personal transformation? And because I've done this process many times since I've learned it in the 90s, and I've asked myself that question a lot of times over my life, I am still with the same answer that I've had for many years now, and I don't know if it's going to change over time. For right now, it still feels very good. My main message is hope. No matter what's going on, I always see that little silver lining. I always see that little glimpse of the, the light at the end of the tunnel, that there has to be something that we're working towards. There has to be some kind of meaning, some purpose of why all of this stuff is going down. And there is a possibility of a beautiful future for our children and children and many generations in the future. That we are able to heal nature and to make decisions that are going to keep this planet or bring it back to a more pristine place that is enjoyable for the future generations. That there is enough food, clean air, clean water for everybody. Life is affordable. People can save and invest, can have a good aging process, are taken care of. All those things. And whatever the things are that are really dear to your heart, the welfare of animals, kindness of all people to each other. Wow, I so hold that hope. And then I know that somehow what I'm doing in my own little circle, my own little tiny circle of influence, has at least some kind of meaning. Because when I can go through my world today being hopeful for my own life and for the life of my family and my future and the future of my family, and I can also project that energy into the countries that I live in and the world at large, and I can feel all those 8 billion people that are here right now, that we're all on that journey together. Wow. Because that's a big time team journey, right? So here's a piece that I would love to share with you. In the olden days, there were a lot of stories that were about the lone hero, the lone warrior. And there are many, many movies that are very specifically based on that principle. And those are our action heroes. This is a very important part of our culture when we look into the middle of the 20th century. And those archetypes were very deeply promoted by the media. And then the movie Dinosaur came out by Disney. I don't know if that was the 2000s or late 90s. And it blew my mind because the success of the journey depended for our hero on teamwork. And the hero made very clear that it was a team journey. It was not, I'm your leader and we're doing this together. No, it was, I'm part of this group and we can do this. And it was such a wonderful, heartwarming, and hopeful experience for me to see that. And I knew that there was a shift in consciousness. Another fun example is Shrek. Fantastic movie, fantastic story. And my favorite part of the story, which again shows a shift in consciousness, we didn't kill the dragon. Shrek befriended the dragon, and in the end, the dragon had saved the day and evolved the story forward positively. Also, they made it a girl. Very interesting. And those are shifts. When we start changing our stories, we know we're shifting our consciousness. Why do you think the superhero movies have been so insanely important over those last 20 years? Because we are all called to finally evolve and to start using our own superpowers, our mind. You've heard it. Oh, we've only used 5 to 10% of our mind, of our brains. If you look at it literally, of course, that's humbug. Everything is firing all the time. It's just, what are you doing with it? How proactively are you using it? Are you just reactionary to life, or are you proactively creating your life? I believe we're going to have some very different numbers in the future as more and more people are opening themselves up to using more than just our five senses. And now talking about telepathy, you're not a wacko anymore. This is scientific stuff that are being actually explored by very prestigious universities. Yeah, we are completely entering a new era. And this is the era of the hero's quest being experienced collectively. That's why we have these superhero movies where they all come together and they're acting as a team. The Justice League, the Avengers. There is a reason that we're creating these stories, that we're opening up ourselves to that perception, that possibility. It's a sign of the times that we are now so excited about those movies. And I can't wait to see what that next wave is going to be. And the kind of movies that we're now creating, the kind of stories that come to us now. And I really think we're going to go a lot deeper with our psychic abilities and the kind of magic that people allow themselves to buy into. I love that saying, that magic is ultimately just technology we don't understand yet. And there are so many fantastic research projects all over the world, and a lot of them are actually led by universities, and they are in conjunction with other countries where they are exploring tremendous things. For example, plasticity of the brain is just mind-boggling. That now it's a totally normal thing to say, yeah, we understand that we can completely regenerate, that our brain grows until the day we die. We have the ability to grow our brain. We have the ability to heal. Phenomenal, fascinating stuff. And I really believe that is the next era. One of the guys in What the Bleep, I think it was Dr. Alan Watts, said that we have done all the outer exploration. There isn't much left on Earth for us to explore. You can pretty much Google Earth, every part of the world. Now, the next big journey is inward. It's into the mind and what's possible there. And that's what I find extremely exciting. What are those next thresholds that we're going to push? What are those next ceilings that we're going to explode in our consciousness? What's possible? I'm very excited about all of this. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. So let's integrate everything that we just talked about. I gave you the structure, I gave you the general layout of the journey, all the way from the calling, being in your home, going, okay, what's going on? Something's happening. There's a chance for me, an opportunity for me to grow, to transform. We're stepping through the portal. We're welcoming all of our guardians who make sure that we know what we're doing. Then we are embracing our fellowship, we're embracing our friends, our helpers, our mentors, and our resources, our tools. We're going on the journey, we're going, it's called the road of trials. We're going to meander along the lake, we're going to climb the mountaintop, we're going down into the cave, whatever way you want to do it. And then we have some kind of transformation and insight, healing, some kind of a change that really rocks our world. And things are not the same anymore. In that moment, you changed. And you've done it many times. There are things that you now believe in that you never thought you would be able to believe. Guaranteed. There are things that you're now able to do that you never thought you would be able to do. And then you learned it. That was a heroical quest and a transformation. And you changed your identity. You became someone new. And when that happens, then we take that out into the world, we share it with others, we go back to the portal, into our home, and then we start it all over again. Where are you at right now in your life? And what is perhaps the most important journey that you're in right now? So I'm thinking about my own circumstances, and one is definitely family, because I am now in more of a caretaker position. And that is very interesting to have stepped from the shoes of the child of the family into more of an elder because of my age and being a grandma now. And also with aging parents. So that's very interesting. I see that part of my journey. I also, of course, look at my journey with my book that I'm currently writing and some of the things that I'm discovering about myself while I'm writing it. And I'm definitely in the gathering tools, information, and mentors phase right now. I'm also, I admit it, in my road of trials. And I am digging a little bit in the cave, I can imagine, because I have been doing a little kicking and screaming there with my time investment that I'm doing because I have very specific goals. And then sometimes I can tell I'm sabotaging myself a little bit. So I need to look at that a little bit. And some other things, perhaps health. No, not really right now. Just a general, hey, embracing my graceful aging. And then, of course, relationships always growing. And I love my team journey with Sean, and that he's also very proactively on his own heroic quest. And we share our inputs and what we're discovering with each other. So that's very satisfying. My friends, my family, my circle of my confidence is just phenomenal. Love my resources, love my mentors, or my coaches, my support system. It's incredible. And I love being a support system for other people as well. So as you're hearing me yak here, where are you going? Where does your mind go for yourself? Look at some different areas of your life and where you might be at. In some instances, you might be in a gathering information phase. Perhaps you have just experienced the most wonderful healing that you're now ready to share, and you're wondering, how can I share it? That's a good one. There's your next quest. If you're wondering right now, how can I share this? I know so many people who have so much incredible information. I said so often to people, you need to write a book. This is worthy of a book. You are helping other people by sharing your story. Seriously. and perhaps some of you are right now, okay, I'm going to do it, then make that your next quest. Perhaps there is something you want to learn that you want to get really good at. That is a quest. Perhaps there is a health quest that you have in front of you because you're dealing with something specific. Perhaps you have a relationship quest. Or you simply have some goals for 2023 that you would like to fulfill for yourself, and you can put it under the mantle of the hero's journey. Let's just take a quick moment together and go through one of those quests so that you put it into your brain. And then, of course, I encourage you to do some more research, read some books about it. Google Joseph Campbell. My favorite author is actually Robert E. Johnson. And the three books that I very often go to are He, She, and We. I don't know if they're in print right now. I have them myself. I've given them away many, many times. I tell all of my clients and students to buy it because it's such powerful information. And it really puts together the male and the female aspect of the heroic quest. And it looks at the different archetypes. It's very powerful information. So let's breathe all of that in right now. And perhaps you want to close your eyes, get comfortable, get relaxed. And let just all this information that I shared with you flow into you. Bring it down to a cellular level. Fully immerse yourself in that possibility of what we presented here today and how you can use it. And then I would like for you to make a commitment to yourself that as of today, you are going to have a different relationship with your inner hero. That you have choice about the archetypes that you're choosing to engage with and as. That you have choice who you surround yourself with and the kind of tools that you pick up. That you have at least an influence on how the pathway is going to manifest itself. You can set your intent to have a peaceful journey, to have an insightful journey, that you're going to learn something very powerful and important. And I would like for you to simply embrace your inner feminine and masculine energy right now and just welcome both of it. You can also do it with your brain and your heart and how they communicate with each other. Your conscious, your subconscious, your right brain, your left brain. There are so many ways to think about the feminine, the masculine, so that you can truly manifest from the inside out in a congruent, in a cohesive way, from your highest self, from an empowered self, from an energized self. You're going to end up in the realm of magic, ultimately. Once the hero has transformed themselves, they become the shaman, the magician, the mystic, the king, the queen, the empress, the hierophant. There are so many wonderful words for this empowered being. And the magician is one of them. I believe they are number one in the tarot deck. And you are going to end up with more resources than you started out with. So make that commitment to yourself right now to truly embrace that energy, to truly embrace those archetypes, to willingly give yourself to the journey. The universe is only going to keep knocking on your door if you don't embrace the journey. And if you're on it kicking and screaming, I don't want to change, I don't want this, rah, rah, rah. Just imagine going on a family vacation and you're kicking and screaming the whole time. I don't want to go here. I don't want to experience this. I don't want to see this sight. You wouldn't do that. You're willingly going on the vacation because you're excited about it. And yes, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Imagine your whole life like that, and that we chose to be here, right now, in these circumstances, with your upbringing, with the culture, all the hardship and all the happiness that you've experienced, and that it all, for some crazy reason, had some meaning and was supposed to happen. See, that's that crazy little point between free will and destiny. And the best way I can explain it to myself, and I hope that it's useful to you as well, is that point of the observer that then takes the wave function and transforms it into a physical reality, into a particle. That is our function. We are the catalyst. Our consciousness is the catalyst through the act of observing, where we can make the choice in how we want to engage with reality, because the observer influences the experiment. Be the observer in the most empowering way to yourself and others. I believe that that is our calling as humanity right now. That we get over it, that we stop acting like victims, that we are stopping the blame game, the justification game, the criticizing game of ourselves and others, and simply embrace that journey on a higher level. If you've done a good job at being a victim up till now, then ask yourself, which archetype would I like to embrace from now on? If your journey has been that mostly of a warrior, ask yourself, what kind of archetype would give me more happiness and puts less struggle in my path? I used to be the lone warrior, and I got a lot done. And since I've become the team member magician, I'm having a lot more fun and a lot more happiness, a lot more health, and a lot more everyday wonderful experiences, no matter what I'm facing. Where there is hardship around me, and it's how I can show up for those other people that is different, because I feel different about my journey. So, how do you want to show up for other people in your life? What is that energy that you want to project when you come into a room, when you come into a specific location? What is that light that you want to spread, that you naturally entrain the other people around you? That's the big question, my friends, I would like to ask you, and that I would like for you to ask yourself over these coming weeks. This is a very, very special time for us to be alive. And we've all said, yes, I want to be here. May you have the most wonderful journey. And may you have a tremendous influence and leadership in the most positive and empowering way for others, so that you leave every situation better than you found it. You leave every person better than you found them. Wouldn't that be lovely? That is the thing that you get to look back on. For those of you who want to go a lot deeper with this information, I am going to offer another mastermind class, and it's going to be on the 11th of February. You will definitely hear from me. And I'm also going to have another seminar here next Tuesday for those of you who are interested in it. And like always, you guys, I couldn't do this alone. There's no point in doing this alone for me. And just having this platform and knowing that we're doing this together gives me all the happiness and joy that I could ask for. Thank you so, so very much for being here with me today. And check out the recording. Please share it with others. I will also upload it on YouTube, where you can always watch my videos. And keep learning about the law of attraction, about quantum NLP, and the hero's journey. Have a fabulous quest, my dears. And I'm going to talk to you soon again. Bye.